shows up. Going live, and I am live. Yeah, I figured I'd, let me see if my microphone is, yeah, that's the right one. Okay, so as usual, no real notice, no big announcement, just live streaming because I'm just gonna get some work done here on this show. So I will just kind of dawdle through some of these recent shots while I wait to see who might happen to show up tonight. The reality is that pretty much most of the animation for Salt and Light is done, you know, for the 48-minute double-length pilot. So that's good. Happy to be at that place. I'm sure there's probably going to be, you know, at least a couple weeks more of just going through and finding shots that I want to improve, you know. This is a newish shot within the last few days. So there's quite a few shots here in the show that just, hey Blifton, quite a few shots actually that have been redone just this week. And like this, completely redid Luka. That shot right there, okay, I'm glad I zipped through there because that shot needs to be redone. Let me make a note of that. Yep, Mel is off character, kind of bad there, so I'm going to go put a marker and say Mel off character. Okay, so skipping forward, we're actually at the end of the show here, and Mel makes a sort of a crack to Luka about the sound is faint on the microphone. Not quite sure what to think about that. Let me try something. Let me try switching the microphones and see what that does. That's a little strange, but thanks for letting me know that. I appreciate that. Let's try this one. No, that's the wrong one. Yeah, that's the webcam. The microphone devices have similar names, so it's a little confusing. Try that. There we go. Is that better? That's probably quite a bit louder actually. So with that, I don't really need the yeah, much better. Okay, cool. Sorry, dude. Hang on 1 second. Okay. Switch back here to Krita. What we have is Mel made this, and by the way, I was kind of speaking softly too. I'm kind of keeping it on the down low tonight. So Mel makes this crack, for which Luka has a little reaction, and then I just did a pencil test to redo this shot where Mel's like, I'm just kidding kind of thing, and then he kind of notices something's up over there with Tianara. Okay, so this is the shot I'm working on right now. I should look at this. Consider, yeah, forget it. I was going to think about flipping it, but no, that's good. Okay, back to Krita. So, this is what's going on, is just a quick fixie-uppy on this particular shot. Okay, so we'll add blinks last. So let's just go ahead and we might as well smack out the ink and paint. Get her done. So let's see. We'll switch to the black, and it looks like by default. Okay, that's interesting. So the the default layer, Krita, does not pin to the timeline, but the next layer that I created a moment ago, it does. So that's kind of weird, but it's what Krita does. Okay, so let me pause for half a second and think about this. Basically, the only thing that changes up to here is his lip sync, really. I mean, you could think of the hand as being a separate bit. So that means really I just need to ink this but leave the face off and then put that in a different layer. Okay, so that gives me my strategy. I know what to do. And let's pop in a, whoops, wrong color there, Jack. Pop in a keyframe. Oh, come on, seriously, dude? I must not have, yeah, I didn't switch it, so it's going from foreground to background. Okay, so this is quintessential animation Truman Show, because it's basically just sitting and doing the grunt work. I think for this part right here, I'm going to go ahead and turn the smoothing on. Okay, now that's a little too angular, but I could actually fix that with a little bit of liquify. That was too much. Let's just undo that. And then dial that in a little more gently. Yeah, I wanted to check and see if the live streaming was going to work properly today, because when I live streamed the other day, the chat did not work. It was the weirdest thing. Every once in a while, though, YouTube does weird things. So this can be a nice shot. This is a nice 8 frame per second kind of shot. It's got a nice feel to it. So, what's going on out there, Blifton? What's going on in your world tonight? Okay, I'm hitting the M key and nothing's happening. Or I'm sorry, the middle mouse button. There we go. Let's erase that. And looky what I did. Like a bonehead. Okay, it was probably because I was hitting undo and jumping around, but I inadvertently put the ink on the same layer as the pencil test. So I'm actually not going to worry about that, but I do want to sketch this in better, make it clearer what I'm trying to do here. So we'll just, that's okay, we'll just put the ink in the same layer, and then just go ahead and do color to alpha to get rid of the pencil test lines. And the world will keep on turning. Okay, that looks pretty good. 5 key. Yep, let's just go ahead and get the rest of his figure in there. Okay, so here we're going to go boom, and then put a little his garment. And yeah, so the YouTube does appear to be working correctly today. So that's a mild improvement over what we experienced a couple days ago. Okay, now this kind of has a dual color and a couple seams or threads, or I don't know what you call them. Laces, I guess. Sounds like Zuko's over there chirping a bit tonight. Are you talking to us, Zuko? Okay, here, let's see, all the animation in the arm is really comprised in the upper arm, so I guess we could go ahead and
Smack that in there. And that would pretty much do it. So I think that really finishes the ink for Mel. Now I want to go, I mean obviously other than his hand and his face, but now I'm going to go in and do a little bit of tweakage here. I think this one actually could come down a bit. That feels pretty good. A little up there. And maybe out just a little bit more on that. I think that'll work. Save that. Okay. We'll just use this for his face, I guess. So B key. Let's zip in, and this is going to be the quintessential Melchizedek expression. And by the way, in this case, we could actually give him the brows kind of like that, and because it's on another layer, it'll cover up the headband. So cool, cool, cool. So this is his big smile thing he does. That was quite a bit lame. Let's try that again. Okay, 5 key. And so I guess the layers are going to be based on body parts, not on their function. Like normally it's like ink, paint, color, shadow. This is going to be hand. Insert key, pop in a keyframe. Hey Sifter, how's it going, buddy? Good to see you tonight. Always nice when my friends show up. Well, it's an interesting time for me. I have to say, it's being at the end of the road here, in the sense of having the 48-minute pilot pretty much ready to cobble into a complete. I have to take all the webisodes and turn them into 2 24-minute episodes. So I'm really glad to be at that point. And probably because of the book I'm reading. I'm reading a book about, what's it called? It's called Binge Times, and it's about Hollywood's multi-billion-dollar effort to take down Netflix. Now, it's a little bit of a misleading title because really it's just recent history, and it really doesn't even talk about Netflix that much, other than what it's really doing is going through, one chapter is about NBC and Peacock, and it's just amazing because the trajectory that streaming is taking right now, well, you could see it coming a mile away. I mean, there are no surprises really, not to me, in the streaming space, and I think it's really good for consumers because of the move. You see it with Peacock, for example, where there's a move towards free platforms that that are ad supported. And I mean, that's the time tested business model anyway. So I think it's really, really good for everybody when platforms are, I think an ad supported model is a good thing. Now, it's not for everybody, and of course in the case of YouTube, I actually have YouTube Premium so that I don't have to see ads, but when you're a creator, it's just kind of weird. So, I mean, I'm just going to ramble here a little bit, but when you're a creator like me, where you pretty much are accustomed to the traditional development and distribution models, Actually, that's the hand layer. I don't want to do that. I want to put it here. Stupid. To me, I really, sometimes I really wonder if, if it really does any good for me or anyone else, to live stream and all the stuff I do here. So it's not like it's bad or anything, but it's just, if I was starting completely over today, I would probably not use a webcam for one thing, and I probably would live stream less too. And of course, I can change and go in that direction anytime I want, obviously. But to me, the idea of essentially anonymity, just being an anonymous creator, where just the work, the work just speaks for itself, and it either people grab it or they don't. To me, there's something about that I really like, that I like better than the more highly engaged, if you will, to use the terminology. I mean, because let's face it, I suck at engagement. That's not my. I couldn't suck more, really, at engagement. Because it's really not what I want to do. I really just want to sit in my corner and create content. And we're in a good place here, in the sense that there's nothing but opportunity, and I'm enthused about the book series that Valerie's been writing, because I there's no question that could be developed into a very cool, a lot of things. I mean, it could be developed into, obviously, books, but I mean, anime, or, it's all good. Webtoons, things like that. I saw a webtoon today that I thought was really, really good. I think it was called Sage Curse. I'll just type it in there, and you guys can check it out if you want. I believe it was called Sage Curse, but I just love the characterization in the web comic. Most web comics are just like, they're like okay, and it's not very often you find one where I guess probably in part what I'm seeing is that the artist has a similar approach to characterization that I do, so I relate to it, and of course I wouldn't draw characters the way I do if I didn't like it, obviously. Okay, so on the pencil test, I guess we want to go here, and this is the hand layer. Okay, so let me look at Sifter's comment. I learned this about my country when I was in a festival a few days ago. There are 0 distributors, only 1 2D studio, about 2 3D ones, and the only way to find a series is it goes through a big studio. Otherwise, submit a 2-minute short to a TV channel that a few people watch. Well, the thing is, and this has been true in America for a long time, is that I've probably talked about this a little bit at times, but filmmakers are generally under the impression that you create a short, you submit it to a film festival, distributors are there, they see your work, they're amazed or impressed, and all of a sudden now you're in conversations about show development. And that is such a naive view, and what you've experienced is completely exactly what I would expect. Now, of course, in Morocco, the population of, the distribution community might be smaller or whatever. I don't know. I wouldn't have a clue, actually. And I don't know that any of my movies, I'd have to look into it, but I'm not sure if my movies have been licensed in Morocco. It could be that they have, though. But that really is not how it works. It really is not how it works. Because for the simple reason that if you're a distributor, think about it this way. Let's say, you could be a creator, you can be a distributor, or you can be, and a distributor oftentimes is an aggregator, okay, and then you're a platform, okay. So the big change in terms of streaming is that the terrestrial broadcast platforms are no longer as viable as they used to be. They still are viable. I mean, cable TV is still a thing, but nowhere near. It's been several years since you saw like a wholesale exodus from the premium tier of, say, ESPN, to where people just aren't willing to pay for traditional cable tiers of service the way they used to, because streaming has supplanted the role that television used to play. Well, for me, that doesn't really matter. But let's chase this rabbit for a minute, because to me it's very interesting. Okay, when you look at Peacock, when you look at NBC making the decision that they're going to go into this streaming thing, what actually baffles me about it is that they didn't do it a lot earlier. But you think about what was going on. For quite a few years there was how far do you want to go back? There was a smug dismissal of Netflix for quite a few years, where the other platforms, or I should say the traditionalists, let's say, people whose business model was revolved around a traditional television model, whether it was advertising supported or whether it was cable, doesn't really matter. But you had a stranglehold on distribution to a degree, for good reason, because companies like Comcast, they would bid a community, and hey, Maria, they would bid a community, and essentially they would have a monopoly. Now, it wasn't a complete monopoly, because you did have satellite options like DirecTV, and if you had technological options like a difference between cable or fiber optic, for example, then you could have two vendors in a given city, especially large cities. The city I live in, where I live, we could get Comcast, Xfinity, if you want to call it that, or you could get fiber optic. Now, we do fiber optic. But once we had, the proliferation of broadband, pretty much you knew the writing was on the wall for traditional television. And so then what happened was, you've got these networks like NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, who had these massive libraries of legacy content. Ignore the whole issue about piracy, because that was something that I think in the video space we sort of bleeped over and figured out. And what the industry figured out is that if you charge a modest fee for your content, basically people are willing to pay for it. But if you're charging an exorbitant fee and you're clinging to an old business model that's really out of date, that's being bitten into in terms of people's mindset about it, the way YouTube did. YouTube basically said, well, all of a sudden people are, especially really young people, are very accustomed to getting a large amount of entertainment for free. That's neither a good nor bad thing. It's just a thing. And of course, early on, the industry poo-pooed it because most of the content was kind of trashy, especially in their opinion, right? So then what happened was you had these large libraries of legacy content, and you really had a simple calculus, okay? And the calculus was, do you do a one-time deal where you license your content for a period of time to, say, a Netflix, which is pretty much what everybody did, and at the time they did it largely because it was a hedge. You're getting monies up front. In Netflix's case, of course, they're not an ad-supported platform, so the issue of who was getting the advertising dollars wasn't really an issue at all because there were none. It was a subscription-based thing. So then you got these, you got these entities that have like Warner Brothers, obviously NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, your FX, your USA networks, and that now the calculus was all of a sudden I don't know, probably now it's been 5 years ago, but all of a sudden Netflix is spending between $5 and $15 billion on original content. Okay, so all of a sudden these guys that have licensed all their content to Netflix are realizing we have fed and watered and prospered our competition. Now that's how they saw it. I actually don't see it that way. Because if you have content, at the end of the day, who really cares what the platform is? One way or another, you're paid for it. So you're either paid as a percentage of, say, advertising revenue, or you're paid a one lump sum because your content is compelling enough that somebody's willing to pay a one lump sum. Well, the problem is that the one lump sums began to dry up about, 3 to 5 years ago, right? So all of a sudden, the idea of licensing content to Netflix, it was still attractive, but Netflix became more selective because they were finding that they were retaining customers and even being able to raise their rates pretty much on the backs of the original content. So they were developing their own brand, not as a platform and a content delivery service, but actually as a creator, And that really changed the game because now all of a sudden Disney and everybody else had to reevaluate that calculus. And what happened, of course, was Disney took all its content back off of Netflix, once the contract ran out. And they figured, well, now the calculus is, do you want to bank your revenue picture on an advertising-based model, or do you want to do a subscription-based model or some hybrid? The greatest thing that's happened in the industry is what we have now. And it's really only just come to full fruition in the last 2 years during COVID-19, actually, which is the hybrid model. And that's what Peacock does. So Peacock says, hey, you can watch ads and viewership is free. That works. That's what television did for 60 years. That's a fine model. There's no problem there. Or if you want to pay $5 a month, the ads are more limited. If you pay $10 a month, there's no ads at all. That's pretty much the gist of it. And I think that's great because that gives the consumer a choice where they say, either you're willing to sit through ads or you want to pay a little bit in order to not have to. It's all good, right? Okay, so let's see what we have here. So here, essentially, other than the turn of the head, I would say that here, I believe I can delete these keyframes. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and then here, we're going to have to do, let's group these so that I can actually make the head and the body do the same thing here. So I'm going to hit Control G. Hello, there we go. And we'll call this Mel. Okay, so this is I'm coming around to a point here, and for a guy like you, Sifter, I'm looking at the thing, Blifton Sifter, right? Yeah, sorry, Sifter. What you're doing, you are going to find an opportunity to create what you're creating and ultimately be paid for it and cultivate other opportunities to do even more cool stuff. There is no doubt in my mind that, believe me, Sifter, that is going to happen. Here's the problem, and it's a problem for everybody at all levels of the industry, at all scales, whether you're talking about $100 million budget or, a nonsense budget like I have, which is very, very, very low. It doesn't matter. The basic problem is the same. You can only create content so fast. Okay, so for me, I'm on the fast side, but still, if I'm kicking ass and working hard, then I should be able to do the third episode of Salt and Light in 3 months of animation work, and then basically another month to write it and do the audio, music, post-production, right? So it's a 4-month cycle. So that means for me, I have the ability right now to create either 3 24-minute episodes or the equivalent actually of an animated movie, because 3 of those is 72 minutes. So you're not that far off of the length of an actual feature. Now, I don't particularly want to do features, but there are reasons to consider it, though. The biggest reason to consider it is because then you can spend a year and create something that's a standalone product that is what it is, and then it can begin to earn. I have a problem with what I'm doing and that I'm well aware of, which is that if people grab the show and want to see more, then it really becomes a problem if you can't deliver an episode for 4 months. And of course, that's why everybody's wanting to buy up a bundle, a whole season and drop it at once. Okay, that makes perfect sense. And I've talked about this here before. I've run the numbers. I think that the production system scales, and the basic. Let me actually get rid of that keyframe. Wait, let me undo that. So the problem that you have, and I say it's a problem for everybody, because if a distributor looks at what you're doing, they say, Sifter, man, here's a talented kid. Look at what you're doing. It's great. We really dig it. What's the problem? Well, the problem is 2 things. If you're doing it all by yourself, then you know what your limits are in terms of how quick you can churn out a product. Okay, so there's that to consider. And then basically, problem number 1 is if I pay you to produce that show, let's just say we're going to make it one show. It's a 24-minute episode of something, let's say, okay? And let's say you're fast too. So let's say you can do it in 4 to 6 months. Okay. So now what I have to do is I've got to pay you to stay alive for 6 months. And then once you get the product created, now we have to wait pretty much 2 quarterly cycles minimum before it's going to start pulling some revenue, completely setting aside any promotional costs that may be incurred. Okay? So in practical terms, what that means is it's pretty much incumbent upon somebody, either yourself or the distribution arm or the platform or whoever it is, unless you can cultivate a relationship where they believe in you enough to front you a certain amount of money, then the problem is they've got to find a way to keep you alive for a year before anybody starts making money off the product that you're creating. So think about what that involves. I mean, number 1, they really need to believe in you. Okay? And that can happen. If you create your 2-minute short, you're not creating your 2-minute short to make money, really. You're creating the 2-minute short to pitch the concept in the hopes that you can then get into a dialogue with somebody who's going to believe in it enough to do whatever it might take to keep you alive long enough to get the thing built. It's just like building a house. It's no different than building a house. Actually, because, if you're building a house, unless you've got a really big crew in a really fast situation, normally building a house actually takes about as long as it takes to make a movie. Figure 4 to 6 months anyway. Could take longer. Could be faster, but basically figure 4 to 6 months to build a house. And it's very much the same. You have to have the blueprint for the home becomes the proof of concept in a sense, and your track record of running a work crew and knowing how to deal with permits and acquiring materials and passing inspections and all that. Completely aside from the style and the, just how cool the home is, apart from all of that, there's a lot of nuts and bolts that somebody has to say, okay, I believe this guy can deliver the goods, right? Most filmmakers, most people that can create a 2-minute short, I think I'm safe saying this, by definition, and I don't say this to be cynical at all, this is just, I believe it's the truth of the matter, is that most people that are capable of creating a very cool, very compelling 2-minute short are by definition not ready to handle the workload or in the intensity or even some of the creative requirements of a full-length show or movie. They might be, but they're usually not. I mean, I know for me, I made 5 movies before I really was able to make something that was what you could call successful, and I would say it took me 2 or 3 more movies to make something that I would call good. So my most successful movie really has a lot of things wrong with it, but it was the right thing at the right time for the right audience, and so it worked, so there's some latitude, right? But this is the problem everybody has. Everybody's got this financial calculus where they have to make a bet. And they have to make a bet up front, sometimes with a lot of money in order to acquire the content or to contract to have the content made. And, when you're a corporation, you're going to look at that and there's some part of you that's going to say, geez, maybe we're better off to, we could almost get into any other business and it would be more secure, than banking on an entertainment concept, right? So the people that do it, you got to have a lot of respect for because they have to really believe in the product and the concept to get behind it so that it has at least a fighting chance of being successful. So bear with me here. This is what I want to do. I want to take this. But when I do the editing here, I want to do it to the whole group. So that's what I was basically sitting here trying to figure out. Okay, so now what I'll do is on the group, I'm going to anchor this here. And then we'll clean it up a bit. So it's really important to know that this is how it works. I mean, Sifter, I'm picking on you because, and I mean that in a good way, because I think the work that you're doing is, you're one of the rare individuals in this community that actually, and there's a few of them, there's a few of you guys, but not that many, there's just a handful that are doing things in a way where if I was a distributor or a platform or a network, I would look at it and I would say, you know what? This kid's got some talent. Maybe there's something here. If we grab onto this, it could be a cool and fun and possibly profitable thing for all involved, and that's really what you're looking for. So if a guy like Sifter, okay, Dave, well, how do I do that? How do I actually get there? And my advice to you would be very, very, very simple. Number one, keep charging through and finish what you're doing, number one. And number two, subscribe to IMDb Pro, which I think will cost you, I don't know, it might be a couple $100 a month or a year, last time I checked. But if you subscribe to IMDb Pro, then, and you don't have to, you can search for like distributors and you can try to find ways to get a hold of platforms. But at the end of the day, somebody's going to have a conversation, right? And they're going to have a conversation with you. Because they're going to have to, you think about what they're considering doing here, either in acquiring or bootstrapping your content. They need to take the measure of whether they feel confident you're the guy that can deliver the goods. And that's another calculus that they have to make. You do it. If you were the platform, if you were an executive at a network, that's what you would do. You'd say, man, I really think what this kid's doing is cool, but, I'm not totally sure that if the gun goes off and we put some money on the table, that he's going to be able to, have a show in our hands 6 months from now? That's a really, really important question that you must be able to answer in the affirmative, with unequivocally, to the point where you're willing to put your head on the chopping block and incur, possibly financial penalties if you don't deliver. That's totally reasonable for that to be expected of you. So, those are the cold, harsh realities of sort of breaking into it, right? But if you can deliver the goods, if you've got a work ethic, and this, let me see what I'm doing here. I want to go. Okay, this is just an eye blink. So we'll get rid of this and put in the eye blink now, but this should be in the face layer, obviously. Well, and Sifter in particular, because of, I've looked at the way you're doing, meticulous record keeping of your productivity, and you seem to be working hard to develop very consistent performance habits where you do the same thing every day and you plug away at it. Those are all things that I would look at and go, God, that's what we want. We want the guy that works that way, because he's gonna, he's gonna come through, is what it amounts to. Okay, so now I need to, actually I probably shouldn't have, let me undo that. Okay, so here, okay, so this is going to go to, what I'm looking at is this shift in his body weight. I don't think that the original pencil test had that shift. I think that I just inked it, and so that means this is kind of off a little bit, but we can remedy that pretty easily. Okay. So what I'm going to do is actually go ahead and trace the eye, and then right now the eyes are in the wrong position, so then I'll just move them to make them look right after I get them drawn in there. So I don't know if this is actually helpful to anybody, but I mean, it is how the real world works. People don't really get discovered. I mean, sometimes they do, but really that's just not how it works. It's more about earning a little bit of street cred by just doing some good work, and then you sort of get in a conversation with somebody that is in the business of acquiring and distributing content, and if they like what you're doing, then maybe there's some synergy there or whatever. Put his nose a little bit too high. So Control C. And for this, why do we, oh, I see, I put the nose on the, I'm going to go Control Shift V. And then, oops, stop, undo. I'm supposed to be in the background layer. And then here, we need to erase the incorrect nose. Okay, so now let's turn the skins off and see. Okay, so what did I do with his hand? Okay, what I'm going to do is, number one, I think I'm going to shrink this a little bit for one thing. Number one. Number two. And then here, I think maybe right there. Man, I wish the I wish the transform tool would remember its settings. It would make it so much easier. And then I'll just insert that and knock that out of there and see how that feels. He's just kidding. Okay. This is too slow. This is too big. So what I'm going to do actually here is, we might as well just delete that key actually. Why do we need that in there? We don't. Hey Chris K, it's been a while, buddy. Okay. Okay, I think that looks stupid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to do some tweaks on his arm. But I'm just going to go like that. Get rid of it. So that means in the background right here, we'll put that there, and then let's just make a little mod here on his arm. And then we'll pretty much have it. We can move on to color. So A key. I guess we want to anchor it right there, huh? And I'm in the wrong layer. You goofy thing, you. Okay. And take a chill pill here for half a second and erase that little bit. And then probably just do the same thing again and kind of get it down to something like that. B key, switch to that, and there we go. There we go. Alright, I better go through and check for leaks. Like right there's one. Right there's one. So why am I seeing this yellow ghosting on my screen? The onion skins are not. Oh, I know what it is. I'll bet you that's alpha residue. Oh my gosh, that's not good. That is not good. You see the yellow in there? What I need to do is do this. Go to alpha. Yep, look at that. There we go. There we go. Clamp that baby. Okay, and so now we're going to go Control F and just do that on all three of these to get rid of the garbage in the alpha layer. What about his nose? Yes, face. Here we've got a nose. We've got a rogue nose is what we've got. So back to the discussion here. The thing that I want to emphasize from my personal point of view is that everything about YouTubing is actually antithetical in truth to what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be an anonymous creator who really looks at networks, platforms, and distributors as my customer. I don't really look at consumers as my customer. Now, I do want to satisfy the consumer in the sense that I want to create something people will enjoy and grab onto, and but it isn't a social network driven thing, that I'm trying to do, and it's something I've kind of alluded to at different times here on the channel. I started doing the Animation Truman show because I thought this is what I would like to see. I'd like to look at the behind the scenes and really look over the shoulder of the artist and see how they do what they do. But I've been doing that for 2 years. Right? There's really not a lot more to learn from me. I do what I do the way I do it, and it is what it is at this point. So, and by the way, 778 I've got to look at I got to look at my background here. I need to bring in a background, and I know that I had it might be 778 actually. Let me jump back to here and see if I have something in the recent. Might be this. But yeah, I mean that's what I want to do. I'm a little bit old school in my. Nope, that's the wrong one. Darn it. That is not what I need. Bear with me, friends. That's all Luka stuff. So this is where having Krita thumbnails would be nice. And there is an add-on for the like a system thing that lets you see the thumbnails of a Krita file, but basically I don't use I actually don't use the thumbnails in Windows. I actually do not use thumbnails. I have them turned off because they create atrocious performance problems. Okay, so 774C. So I'm trying to find one that's a Krita file so I can steal the background. So we really don't want that preview. And let's go BAM 774 in the scenes folder. Whoops. It's not 774. Let me do it this way. Sorry to make you guys sit through this. I'm going to go into the extras folder, and I'm hoping... actually, no, I've got a better idea. Data. Nope, that doesn't have it. That's the wrong one. I'm looking for the background image. There it is. There it is. Boom. That's it. That's what I was looking for. Okay, cool. So we can drag that into here as a new layer. And now we're back in business. Okay, so there's the background. Now there is one little caveat with the background, which is that it is, in fact, the wrong size, as you guys can see. So let me smack that. Oh, we'll just kind of center it. Oh, hey, Yvette. Good to see you. I've been proofreading Valerie's book and having a very good time doing so. It's a bit of work, though, I must say. Whoops. But I did look into the, whatever they call it, the Kindle Vella or whatever the thing is. I did look into that the other day and actually read a couple nuggets of a couple of your books. So, very cool stuff. Okay, so there's that. And now I can go here, which you guys can't see, but what I'm doing is I'm just taking a picture of Mel. I'm just copying it from the clipboard, so I've got a color key. So, Control V from a different shot, and we'll just smack that down like that. Go like that, and then I'll hit the GE to just, well, okay, it didn't do G, it did B, but that's fine. I just need a color key. Okay? Okay. Alright, so now we've got these, I guess we'll call this bod. We got these sections of his body, and now we just need to get the color in there, and then we can add shadows and punch it up, and we'll have a nice looking shot. So this would be CLR, and for lack of a better idea, okay, the only thing there is going to change is the mouth and his hand. I could bake the color into the hand layer, frankly. There is a case to be made for that. But let's just get going here with, so his face, we might as well turn the face off, and let's turn the hand off. So we're just dealing with this. Let's just get this right first. Okay, so this is going to be this color here. Boom. And let's fill it. And do we have a selection going on right now? Control Shift A. Why is it? Oh, it's in erase mode. Well, that's kind of stupid, isn't it? You don't want to fill in erase mode, you silly goose. Okay, so we'll get that, that, and that. All right, now here we'll just, I'm not even going to try to reuse much. I'm just going to smack through and just do the keyframes. Okay, that one apparently doesn't need to change because, yeah, so we need that one there. Boom, 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 boom. And finally, that one. Boom. So like I said, I'm doing a little more work than I strictly need to because I'm going ahead and refilling stuff that could have been just kept. Boy, it's just amazing how your perception of color is so unreliable. It's really amazing. Actually, strike that. Yeah, I actually did have the wrong color, so sorry about that. Silly me. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Boom. 1, 2, 3. Got it. Okay. Now we need to smack in there and get the headband. So, yeah, and you can fill in erase mode, and it will, in fact, erase. Okay, I probably should pull up on another screen here. I actually should probably save my work is what I should do. But I need to go to the wider shot of Mel, and I need to check and make sure that his armbands are, in fact, the greenish color. They're really not. They're more of a muted grayish. They're more like that. And in this case, it is at night, so I've got a little bit of latitude. I can just kind of wing it a bit on the color. You know, sometimes you have to be super strict. Sometimes you can be a little more loosey-goosey about it. It just depends on the situation. So, to which Zuko says, okay. I have a parrot over there that's speaking English to me. Boom. Okay, then we got this part. And as you guys can see, we've got a little spot here of skin color that's missing, but we'll just lasso that with the freehand path tool here in just a bit, and that'll take care of that. So, Sifter, what would have been cool to see in Krita is the ability to auto-update the image sequence, like OpenTunes and Vegas, to seamlessly jump back and forth between OpenTunes and Krita. Might have made coloring faster for you. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, when you think about auto-updating, I assume what you mean is, like with nested stuff, nested image sequences, if you re-render the image sequence, then in Vegas, when you touch the window again and wake it up, it updates automatically because it's just referencing this stuff off the hard drive. I'm not sure how that would really help with coloring, though. The method I've been using is just to take a snapshot from the Vegas timeline and, you know, just pop it in there, and there's your color keys. So usually how efficient coloring is more a function of how much you plan ahead with your layers, so that you don't recolor stuff that you really didn't need to. So like here, I could have been more meticulous with this one. Okay, so I'm hitting the G key, but it's in behind mode, so that means I can't accidentally overwrite stuff. So now I'm going to grab this color, but then create a shadow version of it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to, and by the way, this is stupid. Why are we... I don't know what brush I have selected right now. Maybe it was the eraser or something, but Hello. Okay, by switching brushes, it changed the blending mode, which was not very nice. Okay, and I'm going to redo that. I'm going to make that a little more muted and a little more dark. So there's that. And now we'll just work our way backwards. Work our way backwards, friends. Okay, and then we've got, is that it? I guess that's it for this part. All right, so we can smack in the background. So you can see, it's going to be a good looking shot for sure. I only mentioned this for OT's color range fill. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, and people have made comments about that. I've tried it. Like color range. If you have a scene like this, color range fills can work fine, right? Because the character doesn't move very much. But if you have something complicated, what happens is, how much time do you lose by doing a range fill that goes wrong, such that you wind up with a bunch of leaks all over the place that you have to go back and undo, right? In my experience, color range filling has a very limited use case that involves situations where the character really isn't moving very much, but it's moving a little bit, so you have to have multiple fills, as opposed to just repeating the same fill under a character that's obviously not moving. In this case, we're really doing the same thing, because you're going to have a head, right, that only moves once, right? The head only moved one time, but yet you've got all this animation happening over top of it with the face. Well, the solution is you just put the face on a different layer. It's really all there is to it. So, anyway, back to work. I'm in behind mode, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to do it like this. I'm going to sample the hair color and then solo this and then just hit the F. Whoops. Okay, that did not work. Sample, I say. There we go. That's better. Boom, 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 boom. So I'm just going to bake the color into these layers, because why the heck not? There's a time to, let it all be baked down, and there's a time to make sure it's all on separate layers. This shot is one of quite a few shots that are all using the same basic layout, background, yada, yada, yada. I really know the lay of the land, so it's like, okay, I'm pretty confident to just do it the baked way. Okay, so now here, what I want to do is, actually, let me check something. I am going to I'm going to look for one of my other shots here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this from the clipboard, and you guys will see this here in half a second. But all I'm doing here is I'm actually sampling this color. And the reason I'm doing that is because usually the mouths are black, essentially, but because they're partially transparent, they look lighter than black, right? So what I'm doing is I'm saying, well, let's take the old scene where that was the case and just match the color. No big deal. Okay? Now, one thing one could argue, though, is that what if I want to make, well, like here, my outlines are not actually black. So what are we going to do about that? I'll show you guys a way here in a minute to easily raise the level of your, if you've got your color and your ink lines baked together and your ink lines are black and you need them to not be black, the way to do it is just add another layer in lighten mode, and you'll see that here in just a second. It's really not a big deal. Let me grab that color in the face. So this is all just smiles, smiles, smiles. I guess this is the only shot that has the proper whites of the eyes in it. So there we go. So we'll get this in there, and you can see the curve interpolation of the freehand path tool, which is 100% of the time, not 99, not 50, not 20, not 99.9, but 100% of the time does more harm than good. And unfortunately, it's the default setting for the tool. Okay, so here's what you do. You would add a new layer like this, and you say, hit the solo mode, okay, and now you fill it with black. Okay, fill this layer with black, and then I say, well, what do I want the color to actually be? I don't want it to be black. I want it to be something like this, sort of a charcoal gray, little lighter, just a little lighter, with just a little bit of red baked in. Okay, just like that. Okay, now I'm going to put that layer in lighten mode. Okay, and then I'm going to also alpha lock it. So what that does is it says anything that's black, lighten it up, and if you had something that was almost black, it would be affected by this layer. But basically, what I've found is it usually works pretty well. And in fact, you can test it by hitting Control M and making further adjustments to it, like that, and kind of see where it starts to affect the colors of your art. In this case, right about there, it starts to have an effect. So I'm going to go ahead and bake in a little more red there as well. So you can't go too far with it, but if you just need to take the edge off the outlines, that can be a good way to do it. So there it is. All right, so cool. Save our work, and then we can get rid of the color key. There's no reason to keep it around. And just notably, he does have, I guess we do need to color the hand too, by the way. But let's see here. We'll call this SHD2. So this is going to be actually the shadow 2 layer, which I want to get in there just so I remember what it's supposed to be, because I'm looking at the other screen, and basically it's something like that. Okay? And I did not mean for that to be that color. I meant for that to be black. So let's just use the old curves to smack it down. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay, that's all right. That's understandable. We'll turn, this should actually be there. Down one layer, like that. Okay, so then this is going to be alpha locked, and then this is going to be about, yeah, something like that. Looks about right. That looks pretty good. All right, so we also need to have a proper shadow layer, but I really should probably get my get the hand taken care of first. So no, for the most part, I would say that the fancy schmancy tools associated with doing fill operations, usually what I find is they do as much harm as good. Sometimes they're useful, but for the most part, they're just not that useful. So, and it's an important point, actually, because what it turns out is that the thing that makes the difference in terms of the workflow is really just how you plan. You know, it's how you plan your scene, not having great tools, right? Great tools are cool and everything, but what you really need is just to plan carefully. So we'll get this back. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. And there we go. Okay, that's it. Okay, so now we can turn the background back on. And now we'll do a proper shadow layer, which is going to be one layer up from this. And this is going to be SHD. And our whole shot is actually almost done here. Let's hit the G key. We don't need to be in behind mode. We do want it to be alpha locked. And we do want to insert a keyframe. Okay. So probably, oh, I don't know. Okay, step one is to actually have the right color involved. That would be good. Okay, and now let's pop this down to about 10-15%. Usually 12 seems to be about right. All right, so let's get that in there. It's amazing how much production value shadows add. It's really crazy. A cheap way to make things look better. Cheap, cheap, cheap. There we go. And so yeah, the drag filling is pretty useful, actually. That I'll give you. The drag filling in and by the way, this is control insert because I just want to actually hit the E key and erase that that shadow there. So I can then kind of go like that and make sure I get that. I kind of missed a little spot there. Okay. So I'm in erase mode. And I kind of got into that a little bit with Amar a few days ago, where I was talking about, it's just like, geez, how much faster do you really want it to be? If you're the basic tools really do the job if you're in other words, I don't think a better fill tool would make much of a difference in my workflow. Really, it wouldn't help that much. Little bit. Let's see. We've got to change here. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of bad actually. Need to hit the E key. Hello, I didn't hit the E key. Okay. Smack that in there. Maybe some shadows in his ears. But this is the biggie. Why does that almost look like it has a blue cast to it? That's kind of interesting. Okay, and I'm actually going to just redo these two. I don't mind. So this would have been a little more efficient if I would have put the if I would have put the shadows for the hands on its own layer. So again, it's just more of an organizational question. Gave myself a little bit of extra work to do, but at the end of the day, it cost me all of probably 40 seconds. So what are you going to do? Okay, I think that's it, folks. Let me see what we've got. He says, just kidding. And then he notices. Okay, and by the way, without a doubt, we should have a right there. Let's put in the face layer, control insert, and then let's go back one frame and hit the E key. Let's give him a blink for sure. So I do fairly low-tech blinks. And Alt-Q, I don't really want the smoothing on when I'm doing more of a sort of a scribble, sort of sketching it in. Okay. I don't think I've seen more meticulous planning than in anime. Their process, though seemingly archaic, works crazy good. Well, it does, and you know, I made the same observation just this morning. It's been almost disheartening to me. I mean, if you like the aesthetic of the really frenetic, crazy cartoons you see on Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon, say from the 1990s, really until the present, then that's fine. I mean, that's some cool stuff. Some of the superhero stuff's pretty good. But for me, basically, if I really want to just see good, solid production value in a show that I can genuinely enjoy watching, for the most part, I only find it in anime. And of course, there's a lot of garbage in anime too. There's a lot of stuff I don't particularly want to sit and watch. And there's stuff that I like quite well that, you know, is aimed at a slightly younger audience than me. And so there are aspects of it that are a little hard to sit through. But and then of course in the I gotta do this here, right? This okay, I'm in the wrong layer. Obviously, Avatar: The Last Airbender kind of qualifies as well for me. You know, it is sort of stylistically the general direction I've sort of set my ship pointed toward. I don't profess to have come up to their level on a lot of stuff, but it's the basic feel that I'm going for. And you know, I've had a few people tell me that the show reminded them of that, so that's good. I mean, it's like, okay, that's pretty much what I was trying to do. So yep, there we go. Okay, so now this is going to be shot number 779B. And before I go too much further, I'm going to jump over to the timeline and just make sure of the file format, because I think these might be JPEGs, and indeed they are. So this is going to be Control R, 779B, 779B, JPEG. Okay, I guess we've got what we need. So we'll render that, and then we'll pop over to the show, take a look at it, and if everything's looking good. But I'm with you, Sifter. I think if you want to find the sweet spot, if you want to find good both entertainment and reference material in the animation space, in what I would call, actually, it's funny because I was pondering this and made a note in my journal today when I was journaling, is that economical animation is really, anime is the space where you find good economical animation. Because in the Western world, people either are working too hard and making it too expensive because they're trying to do too much, on the one hand, or you get, you know, I really love the the history and the business and the attitude of a company like Filmation, maybe to a lesser degree Hanna-Barbera. But the truth is, I can't watch their shows. I mean, I cannot sit through a Filmation show. It's just, most of it is just so bad, you know, in terms of they didn't chimp on voices, though. I'll give them that. So anyway, let's jump over here to the show and see what we've got. And I think I'm probably going to be done here in a couple minutes. So, and it's been an hour, so hour and 19 minutes. So this is probably an hour and a half long shot to get what? 5 seconds. You know, 5 seconds of show in an hour and a half. That's pretty respectable. And here it is. Boom. And actually, it looks to me like I would say I actually made the... No, okay, I was going to say I made the outlines too light, but I don't agree with that, actually. I think I did okay. Let me check the properties here. Yep, resampling is disabled. So yeah, I'm feeling like it's okay. You know, I don't think I'm not going to win any awards for animation. My hope is that the little mannerisms and blinks and reactions combined with a good soundtrack and an underlying story that's pretty good is going to kind of carry the day here. You know. But, the storytelling's working. You know, he says his little comment, and now I'm just kidding, and then all of a sudden something gets his attention. Well, what is it? Well, it's Tianara over there looking despondent because she realizes it's like, well, what are you going to do? And she can't go home. And so she resolves to go to, I forget what the name of the land is they're going to try to get to, but at daybreak, which basically means I'm going with you guys, which makes Mel cheer up. And these two shots are questionable. They probably need to be redone. But basically, that's the end of the episode. They resolve to head off together, and then the last thing you see is Vespar picking up the lost pendant, and he says they were here, and then that's, to be continued, right? So that carries us into episode 3. So the only thing I'm really having a bit of a beef with here would be that shot right there, which you guys might have an opinion about this. There were some shots where he had blue eyes where I went ahead and changed it to be like this because this is really the way he's rendered it, through most of the show. So the question is, here, there's a bit of an emotional reaction where he's kind of happy, right? So does leaving the puppy dog eye kind of thing in place like that actually, as an effect, is it effective, or is he jumping out of character too much? If you jump between shots, you can clearly see that he's a little off character between these two shots. There's a little bit of a change, and we need to give him the back of his hair there. The back of his hair is missing. So anyway, if anybody has an opinion about that, feel free to weigh in. This is shot number 782, which I'm pretty sure is a Tahoma shot. So I'm going to save this and then go open up Tahoma. And what did I say? 782? Looks like I had 783 open recently. But I just want to take a quick look at this one. 782.tnz. It's definitely there. Oh, yes, that's right. I did some. The longer shot, you can revert it to a dot pupil, but the close shot, you can keep his blue eyes. Okay, well, so you're saying, okay, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. So you're saying that this, because he's having the emotional reaction, it's close up, you're saying that the doe-eyed look is actually okay here. This kind of works. Because it's the whole idea is like, oh, that's great, kind of thing. You're saying that's okay. Back here, that shot right there, it should be switched back to straight dots. I agree. I think that's what you're saying, and I would agree. He's off character, but it might be justified because of the novelty of the moment. Right. Yep. Well, and this is what I'm doing. Thank you, Maria. I'm just kind of going through and finding things that are problematic. The basic issue here, frankly, let me see what we have here in the timeline. Okay, so the real issue here actually is that, well, you guys will see here in half a second. First thing I'm going to do is pull that in and up. Because you're right. There's no doubt that he's off character. That's better. That is better. Okay, B key. Let's grab this guy. Again, B key, R key to sample the color. I'm just going to take this. Oh, come on, please. Don't start acting stupid. Why is lock alpha on? Why is lock alpha on? I didn't turn on lock. Actually, I did. I was doing some little experiment or test or something earlier, and I had lock alpha turned on. So that was my fault. Okay, that is definitely an improvement. Let me see what it looks like in the show. Okay. Why do we have this rogue dot? What the heck is that? What is that? Hello? Apparently it's in the... Is it in the shadow layer? It is. Look at that. What the heck? Why is that there? Okay. That's interesting. This is pretty ugly. I don't know what I was thinking when I did that, but I am gonna... This is probably gonna backfire. It looks like this might work, actually. Okay, I think I got away with murder here on this one. And now, why does that look like that? Again, I have no idea. And so, okay, so now that's interesting. So I go in and I make one little correction to this drawing, and now everything in the composite is destroyed because, as usual, as so often happens, this is obviously a incredible deficiency in the software that has not reared its ugly little head until now. It could be it's just a compositing thing. Let's find out. Let's go to scene settings. You want to definitely have that turned on. And I'll bet you that fixed it. Nope. Oh, there it goes. Okay, I see what's going on. Now this is definitely problematic. Let me fix his hair first, but this shot actually has a film grain on it. This is going back a ways. I was fiddling around with film grain at one point on the show. So, all right, hit the R key, B. Oh, jeez. See, sometimes I wish we had, we've got lock alpha, right? Well, I wish we had the opposite of lock alpha. That would be super useful, where it effectively protects everywhere that's been drawn on so that you can just basically draw behind. Lock alpha gives you the opposite of that. It makes it so you can only draw where there's already been some color applied. So, I don't know. Maybe the devs just never thought of it, but it would definitely be useful. Okay, so let's grab, well, I don't know. Let's just grab, I think, the pencil here. Yeah, that'll work. It's a little bit weak. I mean, let me undo that. Basically, it's too thick, is what I'm trying to say, but can't seem to talk. Okay, this is probably going to be okay. Okay, and then one thing we need to do here is hit the X key, and in the plastic tool, we need to recalculate the mesh, because right now the mesh is clamping out that hair behind his... Okay, so we did the mesh. That's interesting how it all moves back there. Oh, it's because we're in build skeleton mode. Got it. Need to be in animate mode. All right, and let's see what we got. Is this ready to render or not? Nope. By gum, I can't believe it. Okay, this is shot number 782, and now I have to go back to the show and make sure that it's going to render in the correct format, because these are old shots, and this is 782, and it's got to be JPEG. Okay, so this has got to be plus scenes 782/render/782 JPEG. Save and render. Pre-computing. So we're getting there, folks. Okay, this is better, but the contrast on that shadow does not look right at all. So, let's see what we can do about this. I wonder if there's anything strange going on in the compositing. I'm looking at the effects. Okay. I gotta make a couple changes here. And this layer, I want to darken that up a little bit. So this we definitely do not need in there. And let's see. Okay, thank you. So that's way too dark. Yeah, the mistake here was that I actually have opacity baked into the color itself on the shadow layer, which is pretty stupid actually. So I'm gonna probably have to redo the shadows entirely, which isn't the end of the world, but I think with that I'm gonna probably wrap it up because I'm starting to run out of gas and ready for a break. Yeah, it's been an hour and a half. So let's jump back here. And no, you're correct about him being a little off character. You are correct, Amundo. Let's just flow with it. There he's got the dot eyes. I think this next shot might benefit from being pushed a little bit wider. We'll see. I think we're okay. Yeah, that's horrible though. Not just because he's a little off character either. There's other things about it that are just like not working. I need to just redo this shot. So this shot's going to get redone tomorrow. And I think with that, I am going to call it a night. Thanks for hanging out, friends. And as you guys know, as I've said 1,000 times, it seems like